Google and the DOJ's historic monopoly case is coming to a close after months of debates. Attorneys are poised to spend all day making their closing arguments as the search giant fights to keep its Chrome business, something that could dramatically shape up the world of online search. Joining us now, we've got Adam Kovacevich. He is the founder and CEO of the Chamber of Progress. Adam, great to speak with you. What are you anticipating when it comes to the decision in this case?
Well, I'm kind of watching what I call the 3Ds in this case. The first, as you said, is divestiture. The Justice Department has asked Google to, be required to spin off Chrome. I think that's very unlikely, but there's been some discussion of that. The second is deals, and that's really the heart of this case, which is really Google's deals with services like Apple and Samsung, search default deals. That's the heart of the case. Does the judge approve restrictions on Google's ability to pay for those default search deals going forward? And if so, what does that look like? Is it a blanket prohibition? Is it what some people call a ballot choice screen? We'll see what that looks like. And the third is data. And this is really a wild card because what the Justice Department has asked for is for the court to mandate that Google share huge amounts of its search algorithms, search data with rival search engines like Bing and DuckDuckGo, based on a theory that Google, used these search deals to gain an insurmountable data advantage. That would really be a far-reaching, I think, remedy that I worry could disincentivize Google to keep investing in the quality of its search results.
And I'm taking a look at some commentary this morning from an analyst over at TD Cowen saying that the DOJ's major remedies that you just ran through, Adam, are aimed at helping Gen AI providers take market share from Google. To what extent do you think that that is going to be a headline to come out of this that investors can't help but continue to keep top of mind, that this is going to potentially be a result that allows AI competitors to eat Google's lunch more seamlessly?
Well, I think that speaks to a huge tension in the case, which is when this case started and when it was filed several years ago in the beginning of the end of the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, it was a narrow case. And it was really just about Google's search distribution deals with Apple on Samsung devices, things like that. What's happened is after the Justice Department won the liability phase, they really threw what I call remedy spaghetti at the wall. And they said, look, let's go for broke here, right? Let's sort of invite all of our Google's rivals in and really ask for aggressive remedies. And that included things like AI, limitations on AI. Well, the fact is the case wasn't about AI, and Google's behavior was not judged on AI. So what I think the Justice Department is trying to do here is trying to use the liability finding to put handcuffs on Google with respect to AI. But in the AI space, arguably Google's behind, right? Arguably, they're behind OpenAI, ChatGPT. And so it kind of speaks to the way in which this case is being used by the government to move the goalposts, honestly, to whatever anybody is concerned about Google doing. And that's not really what this case should be about. That's not how the courts are supposed to judge it.
And my guest host, Lou, has a question for you too, Adam.
Hey, Adam, I love your term going for broke because I'm a shareholder of Google and I think it's undervalued, but it's also, some people could say I'm going for broke if this goes unfavorably. Mm-hmm. What scares me about what you said, the divestiture news is great, but data being the wild card, wouldn't this set a really dangerous precedent if they were forced to share their AI data? Because really, large language models are all about the data, and at that point, it opens up for other companies to get too big where they'll be forced to share their data. Is that a concern on your radar, or how would that be mitigated in a decision that forced Google to share data?
It should be. Look, if I run a bakery and I spent months perfecting my cupcake recipe, and it's a huge hit, I got people out the door, lines out the door, right? And the government comes along and says, no, you got a monopoly in the cupcake market, you got to share your recipe with all the other bakers in town. I'm going to be pretty demotivated to keep investing in a great cupcake recipe, right? And that's the concern, right? That this is not something that Google developed overnight. I mean, its ability to hold on to users in search is a function of countless, millions of hours of engineering and brain power to try to make its search results to be the most responsive to consumers. So they have to share all that. All of a sudden, what's the point, right? And that's a real problem.
Yeah. Here's another one for you. Who's next after Alphabet if the DOJ is successful, right? We've been talking about antitrust and breaking up big tech for seems like a decade. Who would be next on the radar?
Well, look, there's pending antitrust cases against all of big tech, basically, right? They were either started in the first Trump administration or the Biden administration. The next one that will probably come due for a verdict is the Federal Trade Commission's case against Meta, which just wrapped the trial phase. That's really about unwinding Meta's acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp, which are now both, more than a decade old, which is kind of crazy, but that's what that case is about. In the kind of the docket are the second Google case, which has to do with Google's ad tech business, where Google has also been found liable. That will move to a remedy stage trial later this year. Further off on the horizon is the FTC's case against Amazon and the DOJ's case against Apple, which has to do with the vertical integration. Those cases probably won't see a courtroom until 2026, maybe even 2027.